right, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight and taking part in Riviera 2040. We are excited that you all took some time out of your evenings today to participate in this open house. Your presence is essential to the process that we have here, and we want to make sure that we can collect as much information and feedback and thoughts from you as possible. We have a very brief, formal presentation for you, and then we will allow you to continue at your stations to give your feedback and your thoughts and recommendations on what you believe Riviera Beach should be in the future. So, if I could have, if I could have everyone's attention really quick, not for me, but for our city manager, Mr. Jonathan Evans, who's going to come up and give us a brief occasion. And then we'll give you a little additional information before we allow you back to the stations and your information. So a round of applause for Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Director Sermons, and certainly the way we can get persons' attention. The winning tickets are last four digits, 7, 3. I'm Jonathan Evans, City Manager for the City of Riviera Beach. Thank you all for coming here this evening. This is so important. The state requires you as a local government entity to have a couple of things. 1, a balanced budget. 2, an audited budget. And 3, a comp plan. So this particular document is your relationship with your local government on what you want your community to look like both now and into the future. I do want to also take an opportunity to recognize folks that are very important to this process and have been staunch supporters. We have our Chairperson Douglas Lawson, and then we also have City Councilperson Julia Botel. I can tell you that both of them have been very, very, very engaged and excited about this particular process. So as you go through the conversation with the presenters, please make sure you ask all the questions. This is your opportunity to reimagine and reshape your community and make sure that you're involved in the process. I do want to recognize my other councilperson, Councilperson Trodrick McCoy, that just walked in the back of the room. But it's so important that your elected officials found it important to be here today to see the out support of such an important initiative. So please make sure you ask all the questions. Participate in the conversation and dialogue, and then certainly we look forward to bringing you something that you're excited about as we reimagine our community for Riviera Beach 2040. Director Sermons?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. So before we get into, again, we have a brief overview of where the city is right now before we talk about what we'll be in 2040. But I do want to take a moment to also recognize the city staff and the steering committee of the comprehensive plan exercise. This will be taking place over the next year, roughly, that we work to update this document that guides how we use our resources, including our land, but also our infrastructure and our financial resources for the city. So it's a very important exercise. So we're, again, elated that you all came out to participate in this. Being that there's so many layers and it's such a complicated and all-encompassing document, we have a committee of staff that are involved in this. So if you are a member of the steering committee, please raise your hand. Mr. Lowe, Director of the Utility District, Mr. Blankenship, our Parks and Recreation Director, and our planning staff that's present. Anyone for Planning Staff Development Services? Ms. Simon, go ahead. Mr. Suarez. There are, we see Ms. McDonald in the back. There are a lot of city staff working and taking part of this, so thank you all for making this happen. But it is such a large task that we also brought in some outside help. So we brought in the experts from Calvin Giordano and Associates, and Mr. Jim Hickey from CGA is going to give you a brief overview of what we have so far with our comp plan, the last comp plan before we look to the future. Jim?
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. It's wonderful to see you all here. It's great to have such a high turnout. And really what we're here today for is to listen to what you have to say to us. It's very important as part of this process. You'll see the data as it goes back on the screen, and we can pull that information and we can show you that information. But really tonight is about understanding what Riviera Beach is all about. So we want to hear about the good things. We want to hear about some of the concerns. We actually have over here in the corner, we have a video if someone want to do it. If not, you can just record. We want to hear your story. What made you move to Riviera? What do you find best about Riviera Beach? We want to hear all that information. And also in the back, we want to see, the other thing is, I think very important to a comp plan is your big, bold ideas. What do you really want to see? This is when you kind of think outside the box. You know, I want a spaceship that goes to the moon. We're gonna put that at the port. We're not gonna do that, but you know what I mean. Think very large, think very big. This is the time that we hear from you. The idea is that through the process, we'll do this information. We'll take the information that we get tonight. We'll do all the data and analysis that's coming back in there, and then we'll come back to see you in a couple months and give you an understanding of, hey, here's what the data's showing, and here's what we heard from you. This is kind of the direction we're going in. Is this going to be okay? So please just keep an eye out for notices that will happen. We'll have another one of these meetings where we can get some more information. The next meeting probably be more drilled down so we can get some more specific information. But please, we have staff. If my staff can raise their hands, we have staff at each of these stations. Each station is a little bit different so that we can get different information from you. So feel free. You don't have to go in order. If you want to go to the station over here or station over there, just please make sure, make your way around. Also in the back, where Dave is back there, we have a, it's called a poll everywhere, and it's actually going to be an instantaneous data. So when you put your answer in, it will tell you actually the percentage of people that said yes, the percentage of people that said no. And it's a really good way to kind of see whether folks are thinking the same way, and maybe you aren't, and if you aren't, that's okay. So that's really what it's about today. We want to hear from you. Any one of my staff is available here to answer any questions that you have. But again, we want to thank you for coming. I'm very happy that you're all here. Sometimes we do these and we have 5 people, so it's great. It means everybody has a very good and vested interest in the community. So with that, I think that's all I have to say. Any questions on the data that's up there? One of us is more than happy to discuss, but I didn't want to go through a 20-minute presentation. I want you guys to get up and give us information. All right? So thank you very much, Mr. Sermons.
All right, thanks, Jim. All right, and before we let you all loose, I just want to make way for our city council chairperson to make a quick remark for us.
Everybody, thank you so much for coming tonight, participating, and staff, thank you guys. You heard the cries of the residents, and this is why we're here tonight. This board, Councilwoman Julie Botel, Councilman McCoy, and my other 2 colleagues, Kashama Miller Anderson and Ms. Lanier. We're putting this together because we need you guys to give insight and input to what we're building out in this community. What do you want Riviera Beach to look like for the next 10, 20, 30 years? That has to be the vision that's created by the residents, not by the board, not by staff. So we need this input. And at the next meeting, bring 5 people with you. Because we need to pack this room out and open this wall so that we have this entire room filled with decision makers, shareholders from this community to decide what Riviera Beach is going to look like. So we're listening. We're going to make sure we implement it based upon your decision. So please, make sure you participate. If you have a few people that want to come tonight, we'll be here for a little while to talk to staff. So let's make sure that we hear your voices, and thank you guys for coming out tonight.
All right, thank you all again, and you are free to move about the room. Thanks again for your presence. If you have any questions, please stop a staff member. Thank you.
wanted to help usher a little bit of direction. So as you're kind of standing around, there's different things that you can be working on. Like in this area, we'd really love to hear your story. So if you can tell us, where am I coming from? How long have I been here? That's in this corner over here. So please don't be shy. Over here, we're talking about the big honcho topics of housing. What do we want to see? How do we want to see it in our affordability? Go ahead and give us some of your input there. And over here, I don't know why.